RFK Jr.'s confirmation hearing went about as well as you'd expect. And by that, I mean it was an absolute disaster because RFK Jr. is a liar, he is a conspiracy theorist, and he is maybe the most unqualified person ever nominated for the position that I am terrified Republicans will confirm him for. But even if that is the case, Democrats are making sure in their opposition they make clear just how dangerous RFK Jr. is. But not only that, they point out the hypocrisy in his Make America Healthy Again, and I put that in quotes, agenda. They point out the flaws in the thinking, the hypocrisy, and how it is really Donald Trump and his Republican Party who are having devastating effects on the health of Americans. And one Democrat, as you'd expect, who did this so well, was Senator Bernie Sanders, who just twisted RFK's words so perfectly, called out Donald Trump, really just flipped the script on them, and a takedown I want to check out. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me. Now, before we get into what Bernie Sanders had to say, flipping the script on Trump and RFK Jr., I want to take a look at Elizabeth Warren and an incredibly important story that she brought up that just shows how dangerous RFK Jr. is.
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Kennedy, I wanted to ask about your role in the 2019 measles outbreak in Samoa. In July 2018, 2 children died immediately after receiving a measles vaccine that nurses had mistakenly mixed with a muscle relaxant. The nurses get charged with manslaughter, but vaccination rates go down. I asked you about this in my office. You told me flatly that your visit to Samoa had nothing to do with vaccinations. We now know that's not true. I have the documentation. You met with the Prime Minister. You talked about vaccinations. You met with an anti-vaccine influencer who described the meeting as, quote, profoundly monumental for this movement. So what happens? Vaccinations go down, there's a measles outbreak, and children start dying. But you double down. You didn't give up. Just 4 days after the Prime Minister declared a state of emergency, 16 people already dead, you sent a letter to him promoting the idea that the children had died not from measles, but from, quote, defective vaccine. You launched the idea that a measles vaccine caused these deaths. You are a very influential man. In fact, you are called the leader of the Disinformation Dozen. UNICEF and WHO, the World Health Organization, investigated this. They say the claims are false. It is not biologically possible what you claimed. And yet, ultimately, more than 70 people died because they didn't get vaccines. So my question is, do you accept even a scintilla, just even a sliver of responsibility for the drop in vaccinations and the subsequent deaths of more than 70 people? Anything you do differently?
No, absolutely not. There were 2 incidents in which children died in 2015 and again in 2008. 2015, it was from the measles vaccine. That's what the New Zealand General Hospital found. The government of Samoa banned the measles vaccine after the 2018. I arrived in July of the next year after the ban had been in place for a year.
Mr. Chairman,
and the measles,
understanding that you wanted to hold this to a minute and that I don't get to present all the facts and documentation I've got, how about if we just decide to make entries for the record on exactly what the record shows about Mr. Kennedy's participation? And I think he's answered the yes or no question. He takes no responsibility.
Senator Warren, we will do that. And Mr. Kennedy, and to all the senators.
This is what I'm talking about when we are pointing out how unhealthy RFK Jr.'s agenda actually is. I don't think causing a widespread disease outbreak and costing children their lives is very healthy. I don't know if RFK really just wants to make polio or measles great again, but it seems like this is what it's a part of. But it's not just how unhealthy and dangerous RFK Jr. is, but how fundamentally he misunderstands what is required to make a healthy country. And that is what Bernie Sanders was pointing out when he flipped the script on RFK Jr., someone who claims to rail against this broken healthcare system we live in, and asked him this question right here.
I very much like the slogan that you coined, Make America Healthy Again. And I strongly agree with that effort. Despite spending, as you indicated, 2 or 3 times as much per capita on healthcare as other nations, we have 85 million people who are uninsured, underinsured. We have all kinds of chronic illnesses. Our life expectancy is lower than other countries. And for working class people in this country, they are living 6, 7 years shorter lives than the top 1%. We got a problem, okay? And I'm going to suggest some ideas that I think can remedy that. Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion, while at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Yes? No?
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Health care a human right? Is health care a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different, because with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool.
Well,
and so are you guaranteed the same right, or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, is a human right. I'm not hearing you say that.
Such a perfect way to flip the script on MAGA and make clear where they actually stand in this fight for universal health care and to make people in this country healthier, to make sure that medical debt does not continue to be the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America, that people are rationing their prescription drugs that Donald Trump just made more expensive by, in some cases, 4,200%, by rescinding an executive order by President Biden to bring their costs down for people on Medicare and Medicaid. That is how we flip the script on MAGA. That is how we redirect the messaging out against them and not just play their game. And Bernie Sanders did this so perfectly by presenting his own Make America Healthy Again agenda that I want to check out right here.
Further, we must lower the cost of prescription drugs. As Americans, we should not be paying, by far, the highest prices in the world for life-saving medications. It is absurd that while the pharmaceutical industry enjoys huge profits and benefits from U.S. taxpayer research, 1 out of 4 Americans cannot afford to purchase the prescription drugs their doctors prescribe, and we sometimes pay as much as 10 times more for the same exact drug that is sold to people in other countries. We must cut, and we can cut, prescription drug prices in half by making sure that we pay no more for medicine than the Europeans or Canadians pay. Paid family and medical leave. Workers should not have to go to work when they are sick. Doesn't seem like a terribly radical idea to me. Mothers and fathers should have ample time to stay home with their newborn babies. You know, in some countries, in Europe, when you have a baby, mom and dad get 6 months time off to bond with that baby. A parent should not get fired when they stay home with a sick child. We must guarantee at least 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave to every worker in America. Not a radical idea. That exists all over the world. We must reform the food industry. Large food corporations should not make record-breaking profits by making our children addicted to processed foods, which then make them overweight and prone to diabetes and other diseases. As a start, we must ban junk food ads targeted to kids and put strong warning labels on products high in sugar, salt, and saturated fat. Longer term, we can rebuild rural America with family farms that are producing healthy, nutritious food. We must raise the minimum wage to a living wage. Yeah, that's a healthcare issue. Millions of workers should not have to worry about how they'll pay the rent or buy food for their kids. Working class Americans live far shorter lives than the rich because of the stress of trying to survive on a paycheck to paycheck existence. Stress kills. Stress makes us sick. We must raise the minimum wage to at least $17 an hour and allow the American people the opportunity to relax just a little bit and some of that incredible economic pressure that millions are facing. We must lower the work week to 32 hours with no loss of pay. People will live longer and healthier lives if they can spend more time with family and friends and have the opportunity to enjoy their leisure time. Advancements in technology, automation, and artificial intelligence must benefit workers, not just billionaires on Wall Street or in Silicon Valley.
We are the opposition right now. And not only do we have to be calling out the clear flaws and failures of the MAGA agenda, we have to be offering up our own solution. As I've said so many times, it's not enough, or it is wrong to tell people that they are not correct in their assumptions about how broken our institutions are. Government can work to make people's lives better, but right now it is not. And it's not because of Republicans. That's what we have to be communicating. Oftentimes we are quick to say, you're wrong about your assessment, when instead we should say, you're right that the healthcare system is broken. You are right about the difficulties that come along with attaining a college education. You are right about rising wealth disparity. But it's not for the reason Donald Trump wants you to think. It is not because of immigrants. It is not because of trans people. It is not because of any culture war Donald Trump wants to divide you with. It is because of the corruption of the corporate class in America and their connection to the Republican Party. That is the message we have to deliver. That is the message Bernie is clearly delivering, and it's what we have to talk about on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.